In a bustling city, Suho is on his way to meet his friends. He receives a text from his mom who tells him that she and his dad are going to see friends that night. She asks him to remember to feed the pet and to be nice to his little brother. He then receives a text from his friends criticizing him for being late to hang out with them. Since Suho is so focused on his phone, he bumps into a businessman who is rude to him for not paying attention. Suho is frustrated at how the day is going, and his run-in with the businessman only made his mood worse. He thinks to himself that he's sick and tired of people and that he wishes he could live an isolated life. Just then, a loud thundering noise shocks everyone in the area. What was that? An earthquake? An explosion? While everyone is still rattled by the noise, a flash of lightning shoots down from the clouds and lands in the middle of the road. The lightning causes an explosion and the bystanders start to run for their lives. Another flash of lightning hits the top of a building and demolishes it. The onlookers below begin to run as rubble falls towards the ground. Suddenly, dozens of lightning bolts flash down all over the city. Each new explosion causes a new round of carnage and results in untold deaths. Suho runs for his life along with everyone else when he sees a woman screaming for help. Unfortunately, he is too late to save her from being hit by an out-of-control ambulance. Suho continues to run while thinking to himself that this can't be happening. Surely, this is all just a bad dream. The sound of a loud horn catches Suho's attention, but he realizes that he's too late to avoid the bus coming straight at him. As he's bracing himself for the impact, a blinding flash appears right in front of Suho and the world around him warps as if he's being dragged through a wormhole. Suho wakes up out of breath and realizes that he's laying in a forest completely naked. He questions where he is and if he actually got hit by the truck. As he looks up, Suho is shocked as he realizes it's already night and that there are 2 moons in the sky. He's also freaked out by the weird creatures flying around in the night sky. Suho moves from his current location to avoid being spotted by the flying creatures. However, the noises coming from deeper within the forest are even more frightening than the creatures in the sky. Suho is frozen in fear when a large, angry bear runs out of the forest near him. He believes the bear is coming to attack him, however the bear is being hunted by a pack of wolves. As Suho watches the bear be torn to pieces, he runs to hide behind some rocks. He's trembling with fear as the wolves feast on the bear they just killed. Suddenly, a small wolf cub appears behind Suho as he wonders what's going to become of him. Once he sees a chance to get away, Suho begins to run frantically through the forest. Although he's still naked, he's not bothered by it because there are no people around. He continues to run although he is becoming more tired by the minute. All of a sudden a voice tells Suho that his stamina has increased by 1 point. He is so confused and distracted by this that he trips over a rock and tumbles all the way downhill into some bushes and tall grass. What was that? I know I heard something, says Suho. Am I going crazy, he wonders. Suho looks around his new environment and sees delicious red fruit laying on the ground. Even though he's starving, he wonders if it's safe to eat. He sees that bugs are crawling over one of the fruit and concludes that if they're eating it, it must be good to eat. As Suho goes to take a bite, he hears something slithering in the tall grass. He is overcome with fear as he sees large orange reptilian eyes staring at him through the grass. Before Suho has time to think, a gigantic snake lunges at him, ready to swallow him whole. However, before it reaches him, an even more gigantic toad appears and bites the snake. The toad then quickly submerges itself in the water with its dinner. Suho is still holding the red fruit to his mouth but has not been able to take a bite. Instead, he faints from the craziness of his ordeal. It's been over 2 months since Suho arrived in this isolated forest. He's managed to make primitive clothes for himself and has survived so far despite the dangers. Suho reclines in a tree as he listens to the wolf pack growl below him. I need to find someplace safer, he thinks to himself. After a whole year of being stranded, Suho has become more adept at living in the forest. He gathers large fruit in the treetops as his muscles bulge. Strength has increased by 1, says that same mysterious voice. But after hearing it so often during the last year, Suho has grown used to it. despite the constant dangers and hard life, Suho is just happy to be alive. As he eats his fruit, Suho sees the same wolf cub that he saw on his first day on the ground below him. It always seems to be nearby him, and he has grown quite fond of it. As he continues to eat, Suho notices something above him. A large, aggressive gorilla is in the branches above him. It roars and beats on the tree, but Suho manages to dodge it just in time. As the gorilla moves through the tree, a branch breaks below it and it falls to the ground near the wolf cub. The gorilla notices the cub and is ready to attack it. Even though the wolf cub is willing to fight, it doesn't stand a chance against the large ape. Suho swings on a vine towards the gorilla. He lands on the back of its neck and stabs it in the eye with a sharp bone tool he has. The wolf cub runs away as the ape throws Suho off its back. "What was I thinking?" thought Suho to himself as the gorilla comes in for the attack. The giant ape stomps towards Suho in a rage as it bleeds from where its eye used to be. But before the ape can reach Suho, a white wolf lunges at it and bites the gorilla on the arm. Seconds later, the rest of the wolf pack appears and use their fangs to clamp down on various parts of the ape's body. Suho is stunned by the sight of the wolves, who spent the last year chasing him, suddenly coming to his rescue. This shock, combined with his recent battle with the gorilla, caused him to slowly pass out. His last thoughts before losing consciousness were that surely, after they were done with the ape, the red wolf pack would come after him. But they didn't attack. The wolves believed that Suho saved the wolf cub from the gorilla. It was then Suho realized that the wolf cub was the son of the wolf king, the leader of the pack. Another year passes and Suho has become a full-fledged member of the red wolf pack. He runs with them, hunts with them, and even howls at the moon with them. 31 years after arriving in the forest, Suho hasn't aged a day. In all this time, he has never seen a single person and has never been able to escape. However, he is not lonely and is still hunting with his wolf pack. His physical prowess has improved significantly and he is able to hunt and kill all the creatures that terrified him on his first day in the forest. Gigantic snakes, wild boars, they all are hunted and killed by the red wolf pack, with Suho being the key hunter. Eventually, 100 years pass. Then 250. Then 500. Suho continues to remain youthful during all this time and constantly questions how he is still alive after all this time. Then one day, Suho's wolf pack are in a battle against the gorillas for control of the territory. As Suho lunges at the leader of the gorillas, a flash of light appears in front of him. The space around him warps as if he's being sucked through a wormhole, and in a flash of lightning he disappears. In the ruins of a modern city, two men and a blonde woman walk around with scanning equipment. They're detecting an incredible amount of dimensional energy which they report back to their bosses at headquarters. Suddenly a flash of light appears which causes them to grow anxious. They realize that this is a portal to another world and they have no idea what's going to come through. The three of them run away and they are barely able to avoid the explosion from where the light appeared. The portal is now fully open and the two men panic. However, the blonde woman prepares to draw her katana and attack whatever is on the other side of the gateway. In the portal we can see Suho's silhouette. The blonde woman is surprised to see that a human has appeared through the portal. However, Suho's eyes glow dangerously and his animalistic roar causes the woman to tremble with fear. A rage-filled Suho appears in the portal which paralyzes the blonde woman with fear. However, a few seconds later he wobbles and falls to the ground unconscious. The dimensional portal slowly dissipates, revealing Suho's naked form. The two men and blonde woman question whether it's a real human that came through the portal, as the force of Suho's presence surpassed even high-ranking monsters. After his return to Earth, Suho is brought to a hospital and is conversing with a doctor. Apparently, he wasn't the only person to be transported to another world. The day the city was bombarded with lightning, several people were transferred to other worlds and they have been returning steadily. In fact, there's an entire department to help returnees once they're back. The doctor tells Suho that he's in perfect physical health and that his story will be shared with the returnee control department. As the doctor prepares to leave, Suho smiles and thanks him. This is the first real conversation he's had in 1,000 years. In the offices of the Returnee Control Department, the blonde woman with the katana questions her boss. "Sir, are you sure this data is accurate? There must be a mistake." The guy she saw come through the portal had an incredible presence. She couldn't even move due to the pressure he exuded. However, the department designated him as an F-rank returnee, the lowest rank. Returnees with that rank are at the level of ordinary people, and he shouldn't even be able to return through a portal at that level. The blonde woman's boss sympathizes with him, since F ranks don't even get a government pension. If he was at least an E rank, he'd at least be eligible for some benefits. The situation is rare, but F ranks have been known to return. The department boss wants to discuss Suho's medical file with the blonde woman. The examining doctor believes that Suho is suffering from PTSD, that he is suffering from delusions, and also displays animalistic behaviors. The blonde woman wants to see Suho again to determine whether her first impression of him was true, so she volunteers to deliver his returnee card and file to him personally. 2 weeks after returning to Earth, Suho is still in the hospital wondering what he should do with his life. Everything here seems so unfamiliar after spending centuries in the forest. It's lunchtime and a nurse brings him a tray of food. A few minutes later, the blonde woman appears in Suho's room as he's bent over his lunch eating like a wolf. The blonde woman is speechless, but Suho still notices her and glares at her out of the corner of his eyes. The blonde woman introduces herself as Soo-young Choi from the Returnee Control Department. Suho recognizes her smell and blonde hair. "I'm the first person you saw when you returned," says Soo-young. Soo-young can't believe what she's seeing. He seemed like a predator when we appeared in the portal, but now he's completely docile. Suho questions Soo-young on what the Returnee Control Department is. She explains that it helps returnees from other worlds to readjust to society. The file she brought him has basic information about the world's current state, so he needs to read it carefully and sign the paperwork. Soo-young questions him on what he experienced in the other world. "Did you learn magic, enchantments, martial arts?" "No," says Suho. "I spent the entire time living in a forest." "I see, so you spent the last 10 years just running for your life. I guess it makes sense that you're rank F. In order to return to Earth, you have to kill powerful monsters and steal their dimensional energy." This statement confuses Suho because he wasn't there for 10 years. He was there for 1,000. Even though she was informed that he was delusional, Soo-young is annoyed that he claims to be 1,000 years old even though only 10 years has passed. She shows him the records and tells him that he disappeared in 2015 and that the current year is 2025. Suho is shocked as Soo-young gives him his returnee identification card. She advises him to go see his family once he's discharged from the hospital. All this time Suho believed that 1,000 years had passed, but now he realizes that his family is still alive. While he was living in the forest, Suho had given up hope. Even if he returned to the Earth someday, he'd been alive for centuries. Surely all of his friends and family would be dead. But they're still alive. In the papers that Soo-young had given him, Suho learned that his mom and dad both died the same day he was taken to the other world. However, his little brother Jun-ho is still alive. At learning about his brother, Suho runs and barges into the doctor's office. "Ah, Mr. Suho Park, what can I do for you?" Suho demands to be released from the hospital so he can go see his brother Jun-ho. The doctor is the only one that can sign his release forms. The doctor hesitates, however Suho isn't asking the doctor to release him, he's ordering him. The doctor agrees to release him if Suho will return occasionally to tell him more stories of his time in the forest with the wolves. The doctor calls a car for Suho, pays off his hospital bill and even gives him new clothes and money, which Suho really appreciates. As Suho leaves, the nurse questions why the doctor is doing all this for a patient. However, he asks her to have someone repair his door handle as it's completely crushed where Suho had gripped it. Based on his incredible display of strength, the doctor theorizes that Suho must be an irregular returnee. The radio is on as the driver is taking Suho to his brother's house. Apparently a portal had unexpectedly opened, allowing a group of monsters to escape into the city. However, the military and hunters were able to get the situation under control. The radio also advertises a fighting championship between hunters. The driver is excited about the upcoming match, but Suho is just confused by the situation. He has no idea what portals, and monsters and hunters are. The driver explains that 10 years ago, the lightning strikes that fell over the city were actually portals to other worlds. What's more, these doors didn't just open in Korea, but all over the world. That day is known as the Day of the Catastrophe. On that day, the Earth was connected to different dimensions, allowing humans to be transferred to other worlds and allowing monsters to be transferred to Earth. Since then, the monsters have been popping up through portals. The military is always ready to strike, however they can't be everywhere, so they enlist the help of hunters. Hunters are people who disappeared during the catastrophe but returned with special skills. These returnees can acquire a hunter's license that allows them to form guilds and earn money by hunting monsters. Intrigued, Suho asks about becoming a hunter. Well, says the driver, first you have to be awakened and then pass the hunter's exam issued by the returnee control department. The driver drops Suho off at his brother's place where he sees an old woman. He asks for Jun-ho, but the old lady believes he's a bill collector. She berates Suho, then tells him that there's no one named Jun-ho there. Suho checks the mailbox in front of the building and sees mail with his brother's name on it. Suho realizes that his brother is in serious debt as most of the mail is for past due bills. Suho walks away and contemplates how he can help his brother. In the forest, life was simple. The strong were the law. However, the civilized world is different. Here, physical strength wouldn't work. He needed the strength of a civilized world. In other words, he needed money. It was at that moment Suho knew what he needed to do. Suho walks into the returnee control department to register for the hunter's exam. However, the employee tells him that he's not qualified. Why not? He asks. According to the employee, he doesn't have enough returnee ranking points to be a hunter. Even among F ranks, he's at the low end of the spectrum. If he wants to qualify, he needs to go to an awakening academy or gain skills in the field. Yet again, Suho is confused as he doesn't understand their system at all. Suho decides to leave, but as he makes his way through the city, he sees a bounty poster. $500 for each goblin he's able to hunt in Suwon Field. Suho makes his way to the hunting location but is stopped by a military guard before he can enter. "What's your purpose here?" asks the guard. "I'm here to hunt," says Suho. The only problem is that Suho doesn't have a hunter's license. The guard is about to turn Suho away when a goblin comes out of nowhere and attacks nearby guards. The military guards quickly take formation and eliminate the monster. Suho takes advantage of the distraction to make his way past the guards and into the hunting field. As he explores the hunting field, Suho's senses are on high alert. The sounds and smells of hidden beasts remind him of his life in the forest. He looks out among the ruins of a city that's now overrun by monsters. Is this what happened to all the cities except Seoul? Unbelievable. As darkness falls, Suho feels at home and he can't help but feel excited as he begins his hunt. As he runs through the city at an incredible pace, Suho feels that he's lacking in speed and power. But before he can think about it further, he encounters a group of goblins with spears attacking a white dog. Suho decides to make the goblins his prey and savagely pounds one on the head with his closed fist. In no time at all, he's brutally defeated the goblins. After his first successful hunt, a status window appears in front of him. It's trying to assign him to a class. But there's a system error. Suho's frustration grows as multiple system error windows appear in front of him. Just then several more goblins leap out at him, but with a few well-placed punches he quickly defeats each of them. Again, the status window appears and shows a system error as it fails to assign him to a class. Ah, that's right, Suho remembers. In the forest he heard a mysterious voice announcing when his stamina or strength increased. But after he exceeded the maximum strength points, he rarely heard that voice. However, back on Earth there's a status window that appears. Suddenly the status window shows that authorization has been obtained and that a performance store is now open. Is this status window what they mean by awakening? Suho is broken out of his thoughts by the sound of whimpering. A few feet away, the white dog that was attacked by goblins is dying as its little cub appears nearby. Suho comforts the dying dog as it asks him to look after its cub. Apparently he can understand the whimpers and noises that the dog makes. In the end, he agrees to look after the cub and wonders if this is fate. Suho has defeated 7 goblins, but since he doesn't have a vehicle to transport them in, he has to carry them all on his back. As he makes his way out of the hunting field at dawn, the military guard realizes he's the same guy that he tried to turn away the day before. Suho returns to the Returnee Control Department's office to collect his bounty. After being paid for the goblins, the goblin hearts, which are called bloodstones, he's able to collect a hefty sum of money. This department employee comments that he's definitely got the skills and recommends that he registers as a hunter. Meanwhile, Jun-ho Park is in a convenience store talking with the clerk. The clerk congratulates Jun-ho on his new truck driving job. With this, he'll finally be able to improve his financial situation. Jun-ho heads home, but before he arrives, he's confronted by a group of thugs who physically attack him. It turns out these guys are loan sharks who came to collect their money from Jun-ho. Unfortunately, he doesn't have all the money yet, but does have some of it. He promises to have their money in 3 days, but before they can hit him again, Suho calls out to Jun-ho. The thugs question who this newcomer is while Jun-ho is astonished to see his long-lost brother appear alive and well. Suho's eyes glow red with rage and power as he sees the position his little brother is in. Suho approaches Jun-ho and kneels next to him, although the thugs are sitting uncomfortably close. As he watches his brother, Jun-ho flashes back to a similar situation that occurred years ago. Back when he was a young teenager, he was being beaten by bullies when he spotted his older brother Suho. He called to his brother for help, but Suho completely ignored him and left him to the bullies. "My brother was never helpful in my life," thought Jun-ho to himself. "Even on the day of the catastrophe, I couldn't have cared less whether he was alive or dead." However, now, after all this time, Jun-ho appreciated seeing his brother. Just then, the thug's leader interrupted the brother's moment by mocking Jun-ho. In response, Suho grabbed the thug by the head and threw him several meters through piles of wood and debris. "Are you okay, Jun-ho?" asked Suho. "Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine." One of the loan shark's henchmen decides to attack Suho for what he did to their boss. He aims a kick right for Suho's head, which he doesn't even try to dodge. The henchman's leg hits Suho directly, but Suho doesn't even flinch. Instead, the henchman's leg breaks on contact. As he writhes on the ground in pain, the last henchman questions whether Suho is a hunter. "Hey," he says, "I didn't touch your brother. In fact, I tried to protect him from my boss." Suho doesn't attack him, but instead gives him the money that Jun-ho originally gave to the boss and tells him to get lost. The two brothers head to Jun-ho's apartment and he introduces Suho to the old lady landlord that berated him earlier. Jun-ho takes him upstairs and shows Suho his son who is sleeping. The two brothers then grab a drink and catch up on each other's lives. Suho asks about his debts and Jun-ho tells him that he owes a total of $50,000. But he'll be able to pay it back now that he has a transporting job. Just then, Jun-ho's son, Jun-ho, wakes up and sees Suho's white puppy. He goes to find his dad and is introduced to his uncle Suho. As Jun-ho plays with the puppy, Suho proposes that Jun-ho partners with him to do some monster hunting. Suho will fight the monsters and Jun-ho will help transport them to the Returnee Control Department. Suho returns to the Returnee Control Department building. There, the employee that originally told Suho he wasn't qualified is amazed to see that he increased his stats in just one day. He's now registered as a returnee and is classified as an F-rank druid. He can now open an account and make credit withdrawals using his returnee card. Suho is also given a free phone so he can download the Returnee Control Department's app and view the testing schedule and get hunting field information. "Nice," says Suho. "This will definitely be useful." The employee explains that by defeating monsters and gathering their dimensional energy, he will be able to move to Class E and get a pension. She encourages him to protect the citizens from the monsters. She also explains how to open the status window. As the window appears in front of Suho, he can see his stats as a druid and is shocked to see his detailed stats are so low, although his strength, stamina and agility are maxed out. As he leaves the returnee control department, Suho calls his brother with his new phone. Jun-ho is excited that Suho is registered as a hunter and tells him that all he needs to do now is pass the hunter exam. But Suho insists on earning money to pay off his brother's debts first. Jun-ho is skeptical because Suho is still an F rank. Monsters that pay big bucks are still too much for his big brother to handle. Suho isn't hearing it and is headed for the closest portal. There's a line of cars waiting on the road to this particular gate, and the hunters are getting impatient. Inside one of the cars is a group of hunters. The three in the back seat are obviously newbies and are terrified of facing monsters. The two in the front are more experienced and are irritated to be stuck with inexperienced hunters. Just then they spot Suho talking to one of the guards at the gate. Since he didn't drive, he was able to avoid the traffic. Suho is allowed in and the hunters that see him are stunned to see that he's entering the hunting field alone, without any gear or weapons. Shortly after Suho is allowed inside the field, the hunters in the car are allowed in. The captain of the group tells the driver to follow Suho into the field, but as soon as they enter he's completely vanished. The captain is excited because he can tell there's something special about Suho. Suho is running through the hunting field at an incredible speed. However, he quickly tires as he realizes that his body is much weaker on Earth than it was when he was with the Red Wolf Pack. He contemplates whether he should start training to get back in shape. In the distance, Suho can hear the clanging of metal and the shouting of men. Is that a sword fight? Suho smiles in excitement. A battle between civilized returnees instead of animals? I have to see that. Suho watches as men on the battlefield attack each other viciously and brutally. There are two groups, one with brown clothes and another with green clothes. Although the brown group has more men, they are hesitating to attack the other group. Just then the leader of the brown group gets out of a nearby truck and criticizes his men for taking so long to finish the job. The green fighters start to panic as they realize who the brown group's leader is. It's a C-rank vandal with a $4,000 bounty on his head. At hearing that, Suho knew that he had to intervene. As the brown group's leader rushes to attack the remaining green fighters, Suho lands between the two groups with a boom. Who is this guy? Everyone wonders. Did you say 4,000? asks Suho. I could really use the money, he adds. The brown leader starts to laugh at the idea of Suho challenging him. Suddenly, Suho realizes that he can't move. The vandal tells his group to attack Suho while he's paralyzed, but Suho manages to punch the leader in his face. Everyone is shocked by this, but the leader paralyzes Suho again. Is that magic? Suho asks as a predatory grin spreads across his face. How interesting! The magic loses all effect as Suho throws a punch directly at the leader's head. The vandal leader is shocked that his magic isn't working. He tries once more and is able to free Suho right before the punch lands. The vandal leader takes advantage of Suho's paralysis and lunges at him with a knife. However, Suho knees him in the face, causing severe damage. The vandal tries his restrain spell once more, but before he can complete it, Suho lands a punch in his face, another in his stomach and a third in his ribs. Suho then grabs him by the shirt and throws him into the side of a building. Suho is disappointed that the vandal was such a weak opponent. The vandal's henchmen quickly give up to Suho, and the remaining green fighters are astonished that Suho was able to defeat the vandal so easily. They give Suho a rope to tie up the vandal, while the brown-clothed henchmen claim that the vandal threatened them to make them join him. They encourage Suho to turn him in for the bounty. However, the remaining green fighters tell Suho that the vandal's henchmen are all criminals and that he'll get a bounty for them as well. The vandal is listening to all this and eventually asks Suho if he's tired of following the laws of the city. He tells Suho that the hunting field is the place of true freedom and that if he releases him, he will help Suho live like a king. In response, Suho kicks him to sleep. The green fighters insist that Suho can get money for all of the henchmen, so he kicks them to sleep as well. The green fighters use their vehicle to help Suho transport his bounties to the returnee control office. While driving, one of the green-clad fighters try to converse with Suho. He asks what his skills are, and tells Suho that his awakening skill is swordsmanship while he learned tracking and hunting through skill books. Suho was unaware that he could learn skills from books and considers learning some combat skills. The driver is shocked that Suho doesn't know what skill books are, that he doesn't have a hunter's license, and he's especially shocked that he's level F. Meanwhile, the captain and his group of hunters are in a nearby dungeon. It's the same group that tried to follow Suho into the hunting field. The inexperienced hunters are wounded and frightened, while the experienced hunters are simply frustrated. The only new hunters that join the captain's guild are rich kids who buy skill books and get dimensional energy by hiring people to trap monsters for them. They have no real battle experience and treat hunting like a game. This fact puts the entire team in danger, which is why the captain is so angry. Just then a group of military personnel approach the captain and say that someone has brought in the notorious vandal. In fact, this C-ranked criminal was knocked out by an F-ranked rookie. At hearing this, the captain remembers Suho and is sure that he's the one who did this. The captain is excited over the prospect of getting Suho into his guild and runs off to find him. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.